Hi, guys. This is Miss Brock. I wanted to take a moment to explain your Beyond Realism module review assignment. Now, you will see when you get to this page here that you'll find a link to the assignment at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And it will take you back to the lesson, but click on Activity and you will eventually get to the PDF. It's a little bit of a process, I suppose. So you'll see here that your modular review for Beyond Realism is a chart, and this is best done if you can keep up with it as you are reading each of the stories in this module. But if not, it's pretty simple to go back to the lessons that feature each of these stories, and you'll be able to find them there, your answers there. Now, what I'm going to have you do for this assignment, there are technically two components of it. The first is identifying characteristics or traits of regionalism. And then at the bottom, identifying traits of naturalism found in each of the stories from this module. And then the second part is identifying the themes of each of these stories. All you are going to have to do, if you go back to your accommodated assignment instructions, you'll see that you only have to complete the traits column. All right. So you're only going to focus on this. I guess it actually says characteristics, but you only have to do this column here. So ignore the themes. All right. So let's talk about that real quick. So examples of traits of realism, and actually I say realism here, and it's actually regionalism right here, and then naturalism here. So let's talk about traits or characteristics of regionalism. Regionalism is a part of realism. Regionalism is when an author uses very specific details that capture a specific region in our country. So their setting might take place in the Deep South, or it might take place in the Northeast, or in the West Coast, or things like that. So look for details of the setting. Traits of regionalism can also include regional dialect. So we know that different parts of the country sometimes have pretty thick accents. If you think about Southerners, they typically have that slow Southern drawl. And you might see that play out in the dialogue of a regionalist story. So those are a few things that you can consider to list there if you find them in that story. Now let's talk about traits or characteristics of naturalism. Naturalism is this idea of the survival of the fittest. I think Charles Darwin and his Darwinism theory, where, like I said, only the strongest will survive in society. You're going to see that play out in each of these last 5 stories here. There are 2 stories mentioned here, so don't forget to list for both of those stories. But characteristics of naturalism might include, as I've said here, they might include a really straightforward approach to death. We know that oftentimes death is going to be this very dramatic, very vividly written conflict in a story. In a naturalist story, if death occurs, it's going to be very straightforward. There's not going to be a whole lot of emotion tied to that. And another one might be a cruel fate, where we have characters who are at the expense of nature or at the expense of their own destiny. And there's nothing that they can do to change it. They're just dealt a really poor hand of cards, and there's nothing that they can do to change that. So, kind of grim there, but I think you get the idea. All right. So, again, for this assignment, you only have to do the traits or the characteristics column for each of the stories. Ignore the theme.